Once upon a time, there was a group of prisoners who were incarcerating in a highly secure prison, known as the Fortress. This prison was known to be almost impossible to escape from. Yet each one of them was innocent of the crimes they were convicted of. Among them was John, a former soldier who had been falsely accused of a murder he did not commit. He had been set up by a group of criminals who wanted to get rid of him as he was about to expose them. The group was involved in illegal activities such as drug trafficking and money laundering. They had infiltrated in the government and the justice system. They had a lot to lose if John was to speak out. Determined to prove his innocence and escape from prison, John began studying the prison's blueprints, listening to the guards' conversations and observing the prison's routines. He realized that there was a secret passage that led outside of the prison, but it was well hidden and protected by advanced security systems. John began gathering tools and materials to uncover it. John knew that he couldn't do it alone, so he started to form a network of allies within the prison. He met Michael and David, two other inmates who were also falsely accused of a crime they did not commit. They quickly formed a strong bond and decided to work together to escape. They knew that it would not be easy, but they were determined to prove their innocence and clear their names. They spent months studying the prison's layout, identifying weaknesses in security and devising a plan to escape. They also began to collect evidence that would prove their innocence once they were out. They had to be discreet and act to perfection, as one mistake could compromise everything. They had to wait for the right moment, wait for the guards to be distracted before they could act. They began preparing themselves mentally and physically for the escape, by keeping fit and rehearsing the plan over and over again. They knew that the escape would be risky and that they might not make it, but they were willing to take that risk to regain their freedom. Finally, the day of the escape arrived. Everything went according to plan. The guards were distracted by a diversion that John and his cellmates had planned. They slipped through the secret passages and managed to avoid the guards and security systems. They succeeded in escaping the prison and fled into the night. They were able to reach a safe house that was prepared by a network of people that believed in their innocence. However, their freedom was short-lived. The criminals who had set them up had high-level connections and they were quickly tracked down and captured by the authorities. Despite their innocence, they were sentenced to long prison terms for escape. The evidence they had gathered to prove their innocence was ignored and suppressed. They were sent back to the same prison from which they had escaped, and were placed in solitary confinement as punishment. John, Michael, and David spent many years in prison, fighting against the injustice that had been inflicted upon them. They tried to appeal, but their case was tainted by fabricated evidence and bought witnesses. They wrote letters to lawyers and human rights organizations, but their case was too complex and politicized for them to receive any help. They were forgotten by society, their name associated with criminality, and no one wanted to deal with their case. They spent years fighting for their freedom but eventually gave up, resigned to spending the rest of their lives in prison. But they never gave up hope. They continued to gather evidence and work on proving their innocence. They formed a group with other inmates who were also falsely accused, and together they worked to expose the corruption and injustice within the prison system. They were able to uncover evidence of bribery and misconduct by the guards, and were able to present this evidence to the authorities. Despite facing resistance and retaliation from the prison officials, their persistence paid off. They were finally able to get a new trial, and with the help of a dedicated lawyer and the new evidence, they were able to prove their innocence. They were released from prison and were able to clear their names. John, Michael, and David were able to start a new life, but they never forgot their past. They used their experience to help other innocent prisoners and to advocate for prison reform. They created a non-profit organization that focused on helping those who had been falsely accused and wrongfully convicted. They were able to make a difference in the lives of many people and to make the justice system more fair and just. Their story became known, and it was an inspiration for many people. They were able to turn their tragedy into something positive and to help others who were in the same situation. They proved that no matter how difficult the situation might be, with determination, perseverance and hope, anything is possible. They became a symbol of hope and resilience, and their legacy will live on for many years to come.